I just want to start off by saying this recording may have many parts due to the my screen recorder sometimes breaking off abruptly, and I'm supposed to testify for the P Diddy case as a as a friend of the court, but I've been trying to contact the defendant's lawyers, and I've not had any success. This is why I'm reaching out directly to the court. I'm a Nigerian transsexual immigrant here in New York City. I'm currently homeless, and I've also been a victim of sex abuse, and also victim of the U.S. government trying to assassinate me under Trump. I want to play the video. This is why I'm scrolling down to and also the Me Too group. I approached their lawyer to help me because I'm also a victim of sexual abuse by the police that removed me from my home wrongfully in 2010 with my mother. I was staying in a basement apartment, and they sexually abused me and kicked me out of my home without a court order. And I approached the Me Too lawyer, Gloria Allred, to see whether she could help me. And she told me that she wouldn't be able to help me because she was going after some of the celebrities, and if she helps me against the NYPD and the NYPD and the FBI would drop the case of the celebrities, and she needs to make money, for our client. So she was quintessentially admitted to bribing the police and the FBI to prosecuting some of these celebrities. She specifically mentioned Weinstein and R. Kelly. So I recorded the conversation. The Me Too lawyer, her name is Gloria Allred, and I believe she had me talk with her daughter also, and they both told me they can't help me. That because they want to go after celebrities and make money for their clients. And she was like, if she helps me against the police, go after the police for sexually abusing me, that the police wouldn't help her go after celebrities, and she needs to make money for her client. So it's like, she was quintessentially bribing the police to go after the celebrities for money, and I try to report her. I will go on the train as a homeless Nigerian every day and tell people to please contact the authorities, because this lady, Gloria Allred of Me Too, is bribing the police and FBI to arrest the celebrities. I don't know if these celebrities are guilty of the allegations or not, but I know under the American law, you cannot bribe the police to arrest celebrities to make money for your client. And I was getting a retaliation. I used the women's bathroom, and because I have stomach discomfort like diarrhea and constipation, so this Me Too would send people to harass me in the bathroom, and they would sometimes come into the bathroom with me and gather my belongings while I'm using the bathroom and start throwing it in the train track, because I always use the subway station bathroom. And they will come into the bathroom with me and gather my belongings and throw it in the train track, and I would have to call 911, and the police would shake hands with these thugs, and sometimes they would even try to throw me into the train track, and the police wouldn't help me, to show they're really collaborating to do all kinds of illegal stuff. There was an incident where I called 911 at Chambers Street train station, number 2 train. I always go there to use the women's bathroom, and they would jump me that we don't want, and they would send men and women to the women's bathroom with me to tell me we don't want transaction in the women's bathroom, and we're going to kill you if you keep coming to use this bathroom. And at one point they gathered all my stuff and they threw it into the train track, and I was screaming, running around. They were about to push me into the train track, and I was running around screaming, calling 911, and nobody would help me. And when the police came, they were laughing with these Me Too people and shaking their hands, and the police didn't help me, and told me, they kind of arrest them, and I should just, find some other place to go use the bathroom at if I'm so afraid. And this group, they would follow me around and menace me anywhere I went. For me talking about their group and their leader, Gloria Allred, and trying to get her arrested for the bribery of the police to be arresting celebrities so she can make money for a client, So as a Nigerian and an immigrant and a transsexual, they found me easy to abuse. And also my friend Eric Garner that was helping me prior to that with my court papers against the police went and choked him dead right when I spoke with Eric Garner in 2014 on Bay Street and Victor Boulevard. I was recording Eric Garner, and it was telling me it was going to help me because the police doesn't have a right to evict me from my home without a eviction order, without a search warrant either. They broke into my home without a search warrant, without an eviction order. So Eric Garner said it was going to help me, and like weeks later, close to my birthday in July 2014, the police went and choked Eric Garner dead, where I met Eric Garner. And nobody will allow me to testify in court. As a Nigerian, I was shut out of the court process, and it was like, and they dismissed the charges against the Eric Garner killer, and the grand jury dismissed it. I believe they said there was lack of evidence, and people thought, the prosecutors must have messed up that case because there was video evidence of Eric Garner being choked dead and stuff, So I've been scrolling through my phone. I was just trying to turn my camera on for some reason. So I had luggages like this when the Me Too attacked me in the bathroom on Chambers Street and threw my luggages onto the train track, and splattered all my stuff all around the train track, and the police came, saw what was happening, and smiled and shook hands and hugged these Me Too people, thugs that was attacking me, male and female, and told me they're not going to help me. So they were brutalizing me, terrorizing me, which is a federal crime. It's a terrorism. There was a black American many years later, like 2 years ago, was terrorizing people on the train, on the N train, 36th Street. Didn't kill anybody, but brought out a gun. And the feds arrested him right away. He's now serving life in prison in Brooklyn Federal Court. So there's a two-standard, justice, one for the white and one for the blacks, and apparently one for the celebrities under this Me Too. So what I'm trying to prove is that this Me Too, they're collaborating and targeting, celebrities to make a name for themselves, and they're denying the court real evidence. And as a poor Nigerian, I'm trying to reach out to the court, but nobody pays me any mind. And I think that some of the defense attorneys also are profiting from this, because I reached out to the Weinstein lawyer. His name is Arthur Adala, and he's been giving me the cold shoulder. So I believe they want me killed. Some of these defense lawyers want me killed, and then they want to surprise the court that, there was a witness that died, that was killed, and that witness would have been useful, and to have the case dismissed. So, I believe they believe this Me Too or the government will kill me soon, and they believe they'll have it's like they're playing a chess. I think they think because I'm a Nigerian, I talk with an accent, even if they have me testify, maybe the jury will still not believe me or trust me or whatever. So they believe it's better off I die, and they file a motion to reopen the case and feign ignorance of my existence. Even this Arthur Adala, I went to visit his radio show. He was doing a radio show in Grand Central Station, and I went there to visit the show, and I approached him to speak with him because he was the lawyer for Eric Adams, who is the mayor, and there's a court order that if someone is vacated from their basement apartment, they have to put in a hotel room. So I told Arthur Adala that I would like to employ him as my lawyer, and I would like him to reach out to Eric Adams to put me in a hotel room, because Eric Adams has been putting other people in hotel rooms like me that vacated from their homes. And this Arthur Adala, basically lied to me. He said, he doesn't do civil rights work, he only does criminal cases. And as soon as I left his radio show, the next day, he said he met a homeless person that looked crazy. He said, these homeless people, they need help. He said that the person just looked crazy, was really disoriented, and it was lying about my mental state, and which is very dangerous. My mother was killed when our own daughters, Bolanle and Flora, feigned mental illness on her to kill her early, because me and my mother were suing the city of New York for taking our home, and Arizona was helping us. So my mother's daughters were jealous. Her daughters live in Pennsylvania. Me and my mother lived in New York, when the police came and took our home. So my mother's daughters were jealous, and they wanted to kill my mother early so that they can inherit the money as an inheritance scam, whatever money my mother got, So my mother said one of the daughters was putting poison in her food in Pennsylvania, Bolanle, like car antifreeze fluid, and my mother was triggering heart attack symptoms in my mother. So my mother fled back to New York and went to Bellevue Hospital, and the daughter followed her like days later, came to Bellevue Hospital and was feigning mental illness for my mother. The daughter was born in America, she speaks American English. My mother is born in Nigeria, she speaks Nigerian English. So the hospital decided to discriminate against my mother and locked my mother up in a psychiatric ward. And they said, that got my mother angry, and she collapsed and died. So there's been a lot of cases like that when they're trying to arrest somebody and put them in psychiatric lockup, the person will be killed in the process, because any form of arrest, forced arrest, is very stressful. Even Eric Garner, they said they were trying to arrest him and lock him up in the psych ward because he was selling cigarettes, even though they're not supposed to lock him up in the psych ward for selling cigarettes. But they said, they're only supposed to give him a ticket, but I guess the police officer said Eric Garner was rude, and that's why the courts wanted to do a 7:30 on him. I believe, I don't know the code name. I think it's a 7:30 when you think you're crazy. Is it a 9:30 or 7:30? But I think it's a 7:30. And they said that's why they began choking him. And another black American, Elijah McClain, in Denver, Colorado, he said he was walking. He was wearing a winter jacket like me. Even though it's summer, I still wear my winter jacket because I have anemia. Elijah McClain is a black American that has anemia like me. And I put my phones in my pocket because I'm homeless for 15 years and people always steal my stuff. So I always put my phones in my pocket, and sometimes I use this blanket to cover myself just to prevent being robbed, because I've been getting a lot of my stuff stolen. So they said in America, somebody can just call you crazy for wearing too much clothing, or being, or for wearing coats, they feel the weather is warm. And so this happened to this Elijah McClain, and they called the police on him, and the police choked him dead and injected him with psychiatric medication because they wanted to take him to psych ward and he didn't want to go. And they said the mayor in Denver, Colorado, Michael Johnston, in 2019 said it's a good, it's just an accident. Those police are not going to be charged. So I was here in New York telling the people on the train and people here in New York that they should call that mayor, Michael Johnston, and that he has to prosecute those police officers, because nobody has the right to feign mental illness on anybody and arrest somebody. I said my mother died that way. So people in New York were calling that mayor. So the mayor changed his mind and arraigned those police officers, include the paramedic that injected the the Black American male with ketamine, which is a psychiatric medication, and that caused the guy to have a heart attack. And they were all convicted. So I've been advocating for civil rights like that, even though nobody really gives me any recognition and stuff. And I've been trying to get justice for my friend Eric Garner also. But even though this Mayor Eric Adams, no Eric Garner, they were childhood friends. But I just don't know why, since they paid money to the Eric Garner family, he's not really interested. And his lawyer, Arthur Aidala, who was also Weinstein's lawyer. I went to meet his lawyer personally. Was doing a show on the sidewalk at Grand Central, and I said, I would like to, I would need his help to help me with my civil rights case and stuff. And he suspiciously lied to me. So he doesn't do any civil rights work. He only does criminal defense, and he really does civil rights work. And on the next day on his radio show, he started telling his listeners that he met somebody, a foreigner, and that person looked crazy. That person was disoriented, and it was basically framing me up as crazy. I said, this Eric Adam has to remove all this homeless from the street. And he was even saying, I smell so bad, and it was just, disparaging my character. Said Eric Adam has to hurry up and force this homeless out of the street. Like he was trying to get me killed. The way this guy was killed, Elijah McClain, in 2019. The way Elijah McClain was trying to get me killed, I believe this Arthur Aidala believes it will help Weinstein if I'm killed, so he can then file a motion to reopen and say there's an important witness that is now dead. And in that case, when a witness is dead and the government didn't produce me, then they can get I guess the case could be, it could be declared a mistrial and travesty. So they're banking on me dying. And this Arthur Aidala was telling Eric Adam on the radio that please lock up all these homeless. They need help. Get them off the street. And my mother was killed that way. Our own daughters went to Bellevue Hospital to lie while my mother was having a heart attack after the daughter was giving her car antifreeze poison to in the food. And my mother started pain. My chest started having pain, so my mother fled to New York City, because that daughter has a violent history, has been to juvenile prison before. My mother said that daughter was on drugs, and the other daughter, Flora, was just spending money lavishly. We'll go to Mexico, we'll go to Disney World with our own children. So they were both spending money lavishly. So my mother was suspicious that they were planning to kill her. My mother said that daughter, Flora, would put her in the backseat of a car and go and hit somebody's house just to scare my mother to death. Because I put in the court papers that when the police came to take me and my mother out of our home wrongfully, that my mother almost had a heart attack. Because the police told us to leave, and my mother said she's not going to leave unless they give her a court order. That's an illegal eviction. And the police said if we don't leave, they're going to frame us as crazy, me and my mother, or they're going to lock us in prison. So as soon as they said they were going to either lock us up in the psychiatric hospital and frame us as crazy, my mother started having heart attack symptoms. So I told the court that. So my mother said her daughters in Pennsylvania were reading the court papers. So they were trying to reenact that to see if my mother would die. As my mother said, as soon as she went to Pennsylvania, one of the daughters, Flora, has a husband who's a U.S. military guy who's husky built. So that one will try to punch my mother. We run towards my mother that's about to punch her. When they called 911, the police would arrest them. So my mother fled just to get my mother to have a heart attack. So my mother fled and said, to Bolanli's house. And before she fled, he said that Flora would put her in the backseat of the car and go and hit somebody's house. My mother said she felt that daughter was doing it purposefully, because that daughter has been driving for like decades, or at least a decade, and knows how to drive. And so put my mother in the backseat of the car and drove to hit somebody, has to call the ambulance. My mother said she almost died of a heart attack. So I guess they used to watch Sanford and Son when those kids were younger. My mother was living in New York with them before those kids moved to Pennsylvania. So I guess Sanford and Son used to touch his chest a lot. Any little thing would be, So I guess that's where those doors got the idea also about that. You can really kill somebody by scaring the person to death. Sanford and Son. I remember when I was a kid, me and my mother used to watch it also. I don't really remember that show, but I know the older guy used to touch his chest. Any little thing. So I remember those doors would watch the show with me and my mother. Sanford and Son, so I guess that's where they got the idea from, that you can scare somebody to death. And when I wrote in the court papers that when the police came to take me to my mother's home on Staten Island, my mother almost had a heart attack when the police tried to arrest us and lock us, me and my mother up in the psych ward. So they went and framed mental illness on my mother and got the Bellevue Hospital to lock my mother up on a psych ward. They said that's when my mother collapsed and died. So I've been on the street, and ever since, Eric Garner that was trying to help me, the police went and choked him dead, framed mental illness on him, in 2014, killed him, so they were trying to put him in psychiatric lockup, even though he wasn't crazy. A year later, my mother's daughters framed mental illness on my mother. I got her killed, and this Otto Adala, when he met me, I guess he must have seen this is the best way to kill blacks. He said, when he met me, and he invited me, he set a trap, because I always listen to his radio show. I'm homeless on the street, but I have my radio I always listen to all the time, so this is my one, this is one of my radios, so it was like, all you radio listeners, come meet me, we should come meet him at Grand Central at 6 p.m. So if you have any legal issues, we can talk with him. So I was looking for a lawyer then. So I think he has connections. Eric Adams has been said to have connections with the FBI, because I was arrested by the immigration when my mother brought me here from Nigeria in 2000. Even though I had a green card stamp in my passport, and my mother had a green card, the immigration arrested me, said children are no longer allowed in America. They lied, and they put me in immigration prison. So I was there so I was bailed out of immigration prison. So they said routinely the U.S. immigration always asks the FBI to monitor any immigrant that's ever been to immigration prison forever and ever. So as I'm speaking right now, the FBI is monitoring all my conversation. So I believe they leaked my information to Eric Adams and to his friend Otto Adala and his lawyer. So this is how this Otto Adala knew I was listening to his radio station, and it was like, listeners, come meet, we should come meet him at Grand Central. And at that time I've been looking for a lawyer, and no lawyer would have helped me. I guess the FBI must have been saying I've been calling lawyers. I've been sending emails like 500 different lawyers, and they all tell me no, we can't help you. So I've been getting blocked. Somebody has been telling all these lawyers, I believe it's the feds, and maybe telling all these lawyers. Even my mother, when she was alive, would go and try and find a lawyer, and the lawyers wouldn't help us. My mother was like, I think we're being blocked. So this is strange that no lawyer in America want to help me and her, even though Eric Garner was trying to help us, and Eric Garner was killed. So even Eric Garner told me that I should just contact the court myself. I shouldn't wait for a lawyer, and he told me he was going to be going to court with me to help me. It was going to help me testify that the police in Staten Island is brutal. It was going to do an amicus, it was going to be an amicus witness for me, a friend of the court. What I'm trying to do right now for the PD's case. Eric Garner said he was going to do that, and the police were going to choke him close to my birthday. I believe the FBI must have been listening to this Eric Garner telling me it was going to help. And close to my birthday, July 2014, they choked him dead. So they framed him up as crazy and choked him dead. Then a year later, my mother's daughters framed my mother up as crazy. Got her killed in Bellevue Hospital under the psychiatric lockup, wrongful psychiatric lockup. So this is Otto Adala, Eric Adams' lawyer, invited me to come, say listeners should come and meet him, and I went to meet him. And he gave me the cold shoulder. I said, can you please represent me, sir? And he was like, no, he doesn't do civil rights cases. Then the next day, he was, talking on his radio show that he met somebody that was homeless from another country, and the person looked crazy. The person was like disoriented. He said, Eric Adams needs to lock up all these homeless. They're dangerous on the street. And every day on this show, he's always talking about, these homeless people, they scare him so much. He's so afraid, So he's trying to orchestrate, an illegal arrest of me so I can be killed. And they've been trying to use that method to kill me. So I'm going to show a video whereby after I was talking about this this lawyer read that she needs to be locked up for telling me that she can't help me to go against the NYPD for sexually abusing me while kicking me and my mother out in 2010. She said, she needs the FBI and NYPD to be arresting the celebrities and be making money off of sexual harassment claims. And she said she specifically mentioned Weinstein and R. Kelly's name, and says if she helps me to go against the NYPD for sexually abusing me, she said, the FBI and NYPD would drop the case, and said she won't be able to make money. So, and that's bribery. She was basically bribing the FBI and NYPD. So, so this matter just keeps getting more serious and serious. So I'm trying to show the video of when they after I was snitching on this lady, Gloria Allred, telling people on the subway to report her, that she's bribing the feds to arrest celebrities, so she can win money. Not that I'm saying the allegations against the celebrities is wrong, but everybody's entitled to due process. And these celebrities should know, if there's some hanky-panky also being played. So after I was, exposing her, the police came and arrested me. At first, a Me Too gang would be attacking me everywhere, throwing my stuff on the train track anytime they see me on the train, or anytime I go to use the bathroom, there's a women's bathroom. And also, I was criticizing Trump. Before I played it, I was criticizing Trump around that time also, because I had a case against Trump. When the police took my home on Staten Island, I went to Atlantic City, and I was in Trump's hotel, Taj Mahal. At that time, my mother has already went on the TV, said the police are terrorists. They're taking black people's homes wrongfully. She went on WB11. So the former police commissioner, Bernard Kerik, is friends with Trump. He must have saw my mother on TV. So he was very angry. I suspect he was very angry that my mother was calling the NYPD terrorists, because he worked for he was head of the 911 commission after the World Trade Center was blown up by the terrorists on 9/11. So he was the one. He was working for the NYPD, but they hired him. I think George Bush hired him to be in charge of 9/11 investigations and stuff. So he took it personal when my mother said, this NYPD are terrorists. My mother being a foreigner from Nigeria, calling the New York police a terrorist on national TV, WB11. So he made a statement right away that some people are losers. They live in the basement with their children. After that, me and my mother started getting followed around. Eric Garner that was following us, was trying to help me, and my mother was followed around, and the police was and choke him dead. Eric Garner said people used to follow him around, call him fat boy, and the police came and choke him dead one day. Right when I met Eric Garner. So they were following me and my mother around. This police, they were just undercover agent. People try to start a fight with us. So we're like on everybody's hit list. They said when you go against the NY, even one of the lawyers told me he can't represent me. He said, what I'm doing is dangerous. He said, I'm a foreigner going against the NYPD after 9/11. He said the NYPD has so much influence in this country. He said, people are going to clap back. So he told me to be ready. And that lawyer said he wouldn't help. One of the lawyers I met said he's not going to help me because it's too dangerous going against the NYPD. After 9/11, especially me, I'm a foreigner. He said, I'm going to experience a lot of clapback. And it was true. My friend Rugana got killed. Me and my mother was getting followed, And then the Me Too decided to join in. They'll be taunting me everywhere I go. And then Trump decided to join in also, because I used to go to Trump's hotel in New Jersey after the police took my home around 2010. I used to go there after that, So I guess Trump was friends with Bernard Kerik. Not that I guess. They're really friends. They're really close friends. So I guess so the FBI was watching me everywhere I went. So when they spotted me at Trump's hotel, I guess they must have told Trump, there's this person in your hotel, kick them out. So the staff of Trump Hotel told me, we want you out of our hotel. I'm like, you can't do this, I said, I'm a registered customer. I was gambling in the casino, and I went to use the bathroom. And when I came out, they called the police on me. Say, no, we don't want you. We don't want you here. You got to go. I'm like, well, what is my crime? They didn't tell me. He said, leave and never come back. I said, I'm a registered customer. So I was recording them. I said, I'm going to sue your hotel. I'm going to sue Trump. Because I don't know why you guys are picking on me. I believe this is racist. So I left New York. Then I left New Jersey, Atlantic City, and I came to New York, And I met with Eric Garner, and he told me he's going to help me with all my cases. Then the police went and took Eric Garner did it right away. Then after that, I used to hang out in Manhattan, and somebody told me to go and wait in front of Trump's mansion, that it's a church that's going to bring food for us homeless people. So I went and waited in front of Trump's mansion, and then Trump arrived in his SUV and tried to hit me with his car. And people would say, that's Trump trying to hit you with his car. And I saw him, he was in the backseat, his driver was driving the car, the SUV. And the FBI must have been listening, because I always have my cell phone with me, and they say if you have your cell phone, the FBI is able to listen to every conversation occurring in the background. Even if you don't turn your phone on, they can listen into the microphone. So he tried to hit me with his car, and then Trump went and made a statement on Fifth Avenue. He tried to hit me with his car soon after I made a statement that he could kill somebody on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. He said he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and nobody would know it's him. But I said, but Trump was only trying to hit me with his car. He wasn't trying to shoot me. So I guess he was just trying to disguise his intent. Then, soon after that, my mother's daughters killed my mother, in 2015. And me and my mother used to go to a Nigerian church, and the pastor, his name is Pastor Joshua, he was praying that some people are going to die that 2015, but God said you can pray for them and they'll be resurrected. So that Pastor Joshua was putting the prayer on YouTube. He said, if anybody dies in 2015, said, don't take the doctor's word. Go pray this prayer. He said, and he was praying the spirit, he was praying the spirit, So I immediately told my mother was dead. I took the video, the YouTube, my phone, and I went to the medical examiner's office. I told them, please, I want to pray a special prayer. My pastor in Nigeria said, if somebody dies this year, we should pray this prayer, the person will rise up from the dead. So they were making fun of me at the medical examiner's office, said, no, we're not going to allow you to pray for your mother. One of the security guards said Michael Jackson came to see the mother. They were referring to me as Michael Jackson, because I'm transsexual, and they were laughing. The security guy so they knew I was going to come because I'd already called and I'm on my way. So, they were just making fun of me, and I couldn't pray for my mother under the right of sepulchre, which is a New York law. That's an abuse of a corpse. They should have all been arrested, the medical examiner's office, because under the law in America, a dead person should have their final wish granted. So my mother used to watch that video, that prayer video, and she told me, she's been dreaming and seeing herself dying. And she was like, she's been seeing, dreaming and seeing herself dying, and she said she believes that Pastor Joshua can resurrect her, that she had a friend here in America, and when she traveled to Nigeria, she met that friend in Nigeria also. The friend was Nigerian, and that friend told her that, they prayed for her, the church prayed for her, and she woke up from the dead. She was in the mortuary for 3 months in Nigeria. And she said her own daughter killed her. That woman said her own daughter killed her in Nigeria. So that's how my mother believed, that Pastor Joshua is a real person of God. So my mother wanted me to pray for her in case she died, because she was telling me she's been dreaming and seeing herself. Right before she died, she was telling me she's been dreaming and seeing herself in a coffin, because my mother's she also has prophetic ability. She's able to see things. She's able to see things, in the dream. And I wanted to pray for her, and they wouldn't let me pray for her. The medical, I believe the NYPD and the FBI told people to be messing with me, just because at that time they've already killed Eric Garner, and the FBI covered up, made it look there was no evidence, and I had evidence showing that Eric Garner was killed on purpose. The FBI covered up that case, so they were just messing with me. Anything I do, they would mess with me. And they said the FBI, Trump has informants with the FBI. So as soon as my mother's daughters killed my mother wrongfully, my mother said that I was into life insurance policy scam, so they said Trump came down a golden escalator right where he tried to hit me with his car, some months earlier, after my mother was killed in Manhattan. They said Trump came down a golden escalator like he was resurrecting from the dead, and announced he's running for president. They said prior to that he was supporting Hillary. My mother also knows Hillary, and Hillary Clinton helped me with my immigration case. So I think Trump was afraid that if Hillary becomes president, that Hillary will help me and my mother get justice. And he was friends with the NYPD commissioner, Bernard Carrick, and he wanted to vendetta me and my mother because my mother called the NYPD terrorist, and also my mother's daughters were the one that really set my mother up and killed my mother, but the NYPD would be guilty because of a murder, because there's something in law called felony murder. If your negligence caused somebody to die later, you can be charged with felony murder. So the NYPD evicted me and my mother from our home wrongfully. So my mother was forced to go and live with her daughters. My mother never wanted to live with those daughters in Pennsylvania because she said when she tried to live with them in 1998, those daughters were trying to kill her. So she ran away from them. She had just returned from Nigeria to America in 1998 and went to live with her daughters in Pennsylvania. And my mother said we didn't wish those daughters were trying to kill her. So my mother fled to Brooklyn, and she was in a shelter, and somebody tried to stab her in the shelter. So my mother went to live with a friend and she started working after that. So this is my mother's obituary showing she died on May 20, 2015. And a month later, Trump announced he's running for president, coming down the golden escalator. As soon as she died, a day later,